know I had my biggest fan right here. But in my situation now, I realized because I'm a mashpia in yeshiva and I'm giving Chassidus shiurim every day, why should I just give a shiur to 5, 10, 15 bochrim when I could also record the shiur for the same money and spread it to more people out there? Well, I was going to call the channel, I wanted to call it
Pnimius, oi Pnimius, Pnimius, oi Pnimius, won't you come and join us, Pnimius. Oh, great, a podcast! Shh, we're about to start. All right, here we are with a good friend of mine, Rabbi Sholom, who has started a grand organization and online presence called Chassidus Alive, which is both on Instagram and YouTube. Just started merely months ago and has already garnered hundreds and hundreds of followers and followings in social media, inspiring stuff, everyday daily clips on Mashiach and Chassidus. Amazing, amazing. I personally watch them every day, and they are amazing. Welcome, Rabbi Sholom, to the Pnimius podcast. How are you, Rabbi?
Baruch Hashem, Uziel, thank you so much for having me on. Wow, I didn't know I had my biggest fan right here, watching every day. Look at that. Unbelievable.
Well, I had no choice because you have me on your contacts status, so.
Yeah, that's where my good stuff is on the status. That's like the previews for everything that goes up.
Exactly, Baruch Hashem. For those who don't know, we actually spent a summer together on the back end of YSP in Morristown for a summer, and I gotta say, that was an amazing summer, and that's how I knew exactly that you were the right person to bring onto the podcast, because I knew your energy and your chayas into this, and once it came out that you were doing this platform, I thought this was an amazing idea for you.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, Uziel. I'm really happy to be on this, and it's great to see that you're doing good stuff over here, using out all your talents to serve Hashem. You know, the Rebbe often taught about how someone should use out all the talents, whatever it is, in the service of Hashem and for the betterment of the world. Hashem doesn't make anything by mistake. I had a teacher who used to like to say, God don't make no junk. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Everyone has their talents, has their unique abilities, and has to be used out for a good thing.
And I think more than ever, that message is clear as day, especially with how much we see technology is doing on the wrong side. And I think we have that got to that point that more people are using these platforms and these opportunities to thrive in positivity, and especially in Chassidus and Mashiach. But I think it is very important to spread that message, because there is a lot of people that aren't speaking up, that aren't bringing out their messages, whether it's from or Chassidic content, or just simply breathing positively into the atmosphere. Right,
that's a very good true point. Making a positive aspect into wherever space it is. You know, there's a fascinating story that there was a man in Poland 300 years ago who was about to set off on a journey to Eretz Yisrael, and the Baal Shem Tov gave him a letter and said, please deliver this letter to my brother-in-law. The man set off on his journey, and believe it or not, they didn't have planes. It's a long trek. He has to go by ship and by horseback, and he didn't make it. He had to come back. Halfway through, he gave up, he came back. And the Baal Shem Tov's letter never got there. The Chassidim got their hands on it. They opened it up. It's the most fascinating thing, because over there, you can see it's printed right at the beginning of Kesef Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov starts to describe his experience of Aliyas on the Shoma. It's so interesting to see someone who's having a truly spiritual experience describing it in human terms. And he talks about how on the night of Rosh Hashanah, his neshama went up to Shemayim, and over there, he went to Gan Eden Atachten, he went to Gan Eden Elyon, and he starts to describe, he saw all different types of neshamas. He saw people he knew, people he didn't, and he went higher and higher, so neshamas, malachim, until he went to the highest heights he'd ever been in. And he said he went to the chamber of Mashiach himself. And over there, he said there were many neshamas, and all of them were incredibly happy. And he writes, to this day, I do not know why they were all so happy, but everyone was incredibly happy in the chamber of Mashiach. And up there, he asked Mashiach the $1 million question. He said, sir, when are you going to come? When's Mashiach coming? So he said back to him, when your wellsprings spread forth and everyone can make unification of godliness just like you do. So the Baal Shem Tov came down. There's a tradition actually from one of the Pelisher Rebbeim. They said the Baal Shem Tov cried afterwards, because he thought, how am I going to get my wellsprings, my teachings, my innovation of Chassidus to spread outward so much? And this Rebbe who said this is incredible. It's not the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He said the Baal Shem Tov cried, but when the Alter Rebbe heard the story, he laughed because he was so happy at the opportunity. He knew we're going to get this done. We're going to spread Chassidus to the furthest reaches of the world, to the greatest depths. And I think that's being done. One of the things right before Mashiach comes, one of the biggest challenges and opportunities is the internet. We're in the information age. We're in the first time in human history that the entire world are educated people. Everyone's read up on everything. And now we can spread these good, positive messages. That's an incredible, incredible opportunity in the last gasp before Mashiach comes.
And it's literally mamish, like you put something online and it's literally like these words aren't as clear as it can ever be.
Right.
I just wonder, and it's so fascinating, like these type of messages that we learn in Chassidus and with the Rebbeim, and like you kind of think like the Rebbe when he would bring these Farbringings, the Chassidim had no idea what we would know now, and what the Rebbe would know even more than what we know. You know, it's like such a deep concept to think about how much emphasis he put in his sichos and in his Farbringings that we know more than the Chassidim at that time, but then the generations after us are going to understand it even more than us, technically.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Rebbe would often speak about spreading light, which is why I need to figure out how to get some better lighting over here, because you can't see my face over here. It's all dark. You know, the Baal Shem Tov loved light very much. Actually, one time, the Chassidim of the Baal Shem Tov didn't have any candles left. It was the middle of the frozen Polish winter, and the Baal Shem Tov said, go outside and crack off some icicles from the roof. And they went and took the icicles, and Baal Shem Tov said, light them. And they lit and they burnt like candles, which is just like the story in the Gemara, where the vinegar burnt because the Tana said, the same one who commanded that oil should burn, who commanded that vinegar should burn. But what was the Baal Shem Tov's point in this miracle? It wasn't just for entertainment. It's to teach us that we all have to spread light. We all have to live with light. Some people, their whole life, they're very sad, upset. They're worrying about their problems. And I'm not ignoring anyone's problems. And anyone who has things has to get dealt with. But the best medicine is uplifting yourself, is being in a light place. Instead of groping around the room in the darkness, trying to figure everything out, turn on the lights. That means lift yourself up. Make yourself in a higher place where these problems, most of them, disappear automatically. So, and really need some more lighting in here. Really, you got to teach me how to do this podcast. You know what I'm saying? This is terrible.
but you're good, though. So I want to kind of pivot on how this platform...
Before we pivot, I have a big disclaimer. I'm sorry, I'm professionally obliged to make a massive disclaimer to our whole discussion. Because we were talking about all the amazing effect of spreading Chassidus on the internet. But you know there's a flip side to that. Meaning, the Rebbe was very revolutionary in that when everyone else said that radio is treif, the Rebbe wanted there should be his own farbringing, his own sichos, his own shiurim should be on the radio. Right?
Right.
But at the same time, the Rebbe said, no chassid should have a radio in your house. You have a radio? You crazy? What do you need a radio? It's bringing all this garbage into your house. Then when TV came out, everyone else said TV is garbage. The Rebbe said, there's a lot of garbage on TV, and don't have a TV in your house. That is absolutely, forget about it. But you know what we're going to do? I'm going to get some of my Chassidim to make shows to teach people about Chassidus. I'm going to broadcast my own farbringings on TV. And that got me thinking, because, did you ever notice, you ever been in Crown Heights, where the Rebbe lived? Why, when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America, did he set up in Crown Heights, which has one-way streets? It drives me crazy when I'm driving. I have to go like around the block 3 times in order to get the right way. You ever tried to drive in Crown Heights?
I haven't, but everyone has that. Street.
Yeah, you have to go like 6 blocks until you finally get the right direction. Everything's one way. If you overshoot the house, you got to go all the way around. But that's the thing. I think they wanted us to know that Lubavitch lives on a one-way street. We're givers, not takers. We're spreading, we're not taking in. In Chassidus, the worst thing is a mosquito. You know why mosquito's worst thing is a bloodsucker. It takes everyone else's life force. It takes in, but it doesn't give back. Everything else in the animal world, it gives, whether it excretes or it gives in a more refined way, everything gives. There are certain types of mosquitoes that don't have a proper digestive system to excrete. So mosquitoes taking and taking and taking and taking, but never giving. And I think the Rabbi wanted us to be one-way streets. They want us to be givers, the opposite of mosquito. Giving and giving and giving, spreading light, spreading goodness, but not taking in everything. A lot of people go on the internet, they make, hey, I'm going to make a let's say, Instagram account. I'm going to spread good messages. Then before you know it, they spread one good message a day and spend the rest of the day watching everyone else's, hopefully good messages.
Sure.
But I believe that we have to be a one-way street. We have to be giving, not taking. If you want to do such, if someone wants to go get social media, good for you. I'm totally pro. Everyone do your own thing. Free country. But if you want to do it in the name of Chassidus, if you want to bring the Rebbe into it, if you want to bring Baal Shem Tov into it, if you want to bring the Eibishter into it, you have to have very clear boundaries that it's one way only, one-way traffic, you know?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But obviously, you do take in the benefits, the ruchnias, meaning like there's obviously the idea of hashpa to someone else, but obviously that hashpa does something to yourself. So obviously you're not necessarily you're taking on purpose, but obviously it is given back to you in a certain way, unless I'm mistaken.
Right. Well, the best thing you can get is to give. I once saw something and someone asked, is it better to give or to give or to receive? With presents, better to give or to receive. They say it's better to receive because if you don't like what you receive, you can give it away.
That's true. So how did this whole platform thing start for you? Because I remember in YSP, for those that don't know, for our experience that like one of the things that you were learning in that experience is the technology of things that you could do for programs in YSP and stuff like that. So when you started this platform, I was kind of impressed. So how did that start for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And also, it's interesting to bring back when we were in summer camp, and one of my jobs was to try to get all the kids more involved in Torah mitzvahs. And one of the ways we did that was by making promotional videos in the very 21st century fashion. It worked. It helped. It helped. That was my first experience with that. I came into camp. I had a BlackBerry phone, like it was on its last legs. But that was the first time I got a smartphone because I needed it then. And was that the right choice? That's a discussion for another time. Because along with that, you spend a lot of time making videos, but less time interacting with people. So everyone has to weigh up their unique situation. But in my situation now, I realized because I'm a mashpia in yeshiva and I'm giving Chassidus shiurim every day, why should I just give a shir to 5, 10, 15 bochrim when I could also record the shir for the same money and spread it to more people out there? So I started doing that. That's why on YouTube you can see all my Tanya shiurim, Kunjuz Mayan shiurim, some interesting stuff over there. Highly advised to check it out if anyone wants to learn Tanya in a very entertaining way, as you can imagine.
Yeah, and whoever doesn't know Rabbi Lever, he's very entertaining. Like, that's not your personality, but that adds a lot to it, which I love.
Well, I was going to call the channel. I wanted to call it Chassidus Unboring, but I couldn't call it that because it might imply that Chassidus is boring. Chassidus is not boring, but some people make it boring. So I'm trying to reverse that and make sure it gets back to its unboring edition.
And that is one of your strengths. So yeah, and so do you do yourself? Do you have like someone helping you out with that stuff? Because you're a mashpia in yeshiva, but you're also married. So do you do everything yourself?
Right. Yeah. So it's pretty busy actually. It gets kind of hectic. So at the moment, I do everything myself. And after I started putting up my shiurim, I started making shorts out of the shiurim. You know, take a little bit of vart here, or vart there, put some music in the background, some captions, and people love it. People love it. So I started putting out some content, trying to spread the good word. I actually do something interesting. I have a third-party app to upload everything on all my social media. So let's say I'm putting something, I make a video. Instead of going on Instagram and Twitter, it's now X, and Facebook, and this and that, and going on every shtus, I have a third-party app that everything's blocked on my phone, and this uploads it to everything. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? It takes out the whole
That's
headache.
Amazing. That is amazing. And you couldn't do that like 10, 15 years earlier. You know what I mean? Like it's unbelievable how a lot of things do that for you. But here's my question. Where do you think that's in Chassidus? Like a mushal like this, where there's a third party that keeps you away in a certain line, but then it puts everything up for you. Can you come up with something within Chassidus like that? I'm testing your boundaries. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to test how you come up with these things. You know what I mean?
I love that. And I'd say the example of that in the Rebbe's Torah would be a mashpia, that there's a binary connection of you with Hashem. A person connects to Hashem. Now you have a third-party extension of someone to try to, he doesn't do it for you. You got to do all the work. You got to do the connection. You're not connecting through him, just on the side, trying to help with the framework, trying to help your workflow, trying to make sure that nothing gets distracted. I think it's very important for everyone to have a spiritual guide, counselor, mentor, whether you want to call it a knowledgeable friend. Yeah, Seilach Harav is the word the Rabbi used for it. It's in the Pirkei Avos, not only once but twice, believe it or not. They found it that important to say that everyone needs to have your own Rav. They said it twice in there. In the first parak. Imagine that. In case no one got the message.
Yep. Were you always in this realm of a lot of energy in Chassidus and your energy and everything? Like, what was kind of your background that you could say that basically led this to you being here right now?
Right, that's a good question. It's a very good question. Look, some people out there, when you get more into like the realm of psychology, some people like to say that no one has really puts work into anything, or if you want to be a bit more of a kofer, you say that no one has free choice because everyone just does whatever their personality is. And then you'll have other people shouting at them that no, there is free choice and everyone does whatever they decide to do. And I'd say that it's very much intertwined, that people have personalities, skills, talent sets, and also personal preferences that come based on that, based on their nature and their nurture. And as one sort of laziest thing in a journal, this person wrote an article that people wonder whether personality is based on nature or nurture. And nowadays we think it's 50-50. Such a lazy thing to say, 50-50, just throw it out there, easiest solution. I would say the answer to that is that nature is the basis of the personality and nurture is how that is later formed, changed, and crystallized. Meaning I think they have two different effects on you, not 50-50. It's the same thing, just throw it, split 50-50. I'd say that one is the starting point and one is how that forms and comes out. But personality isn't everything. You can firstly use your personality in a good way or a bad way. That's your choice. Everyone has free choice. It says in the Torah, behold, I put before you today life and death, good and bad, and you shall choose life. Hashem tells us, hey, buddy, make the right choice. So we all have our inclinations, we have our talents, we have our shortcomings and our challenges. And the question is, are we going to use out the good and work on the bad? Or are we just going to float along and let it happen? You can choose not to have free choice.
Or to have free choice. Like, it's like a lot of people think that like free will and free choice is like a limited thing and like it's something that could be controlled or something that you could do yourself. But Chassidus really explains how Bechira Chassidus is really a monumental aspect in life. And I think it's the Rambam that says that if you don't believe in Bechira Chassidus, is that what the Rambam said? Am I mistaken?
The Rambam is a little bit of a confusing one actually over there, because the Rambam ends up proving that you must have free choice and proving that everything's known and preordained by God and ending up with a question. He leaves off with a massive question mark and he says you have to believe in these two things, and he proves to you that both of them are absolute logical necessities, and then he's like, I'm just going to leave you off without a resolution. So then on that piece of Rambam, you'll actually see that the Ravid on the side it's not the Ravid, is it? Who was it? The Sagas of the, one second, I'm going blank over here. Anyways, the Sagas on the side, I'm going to remember it in a minute. Says over there that he's very upset at the Rambam that what you said is true, but how do you start a question when you're not going to tell people the answer?
Right.
The Rambam says, like, most people aren't going to understand this, it's too deep. But it's like, don't give people the question without giving them the answer. Now you're giving them issues. And he comes and gives his own approach on it, and his own solution to it. And very interesting in Likkutei Torah, I saw in two different memorim, the Alter Rebbe come to explain how both of them have correct approaches, and yet they're speaking about in different perspectives. They're in different leagues. They're speaking about in different areas. So it just depends on what approach you're going on. Both are correct approaches. It was very, very interesting to see that.
So ultimately then. But I do remember the Rebbe talking and bringing about the idea of the Rambam like not answering and asking him, broadening the question but never answering it. Can you just remind me what the gist of what the Rebbe was saying about it?
I'd go with the best way to look at this is a famous mimer in Torah of Eridon of Erin, Parshat Vayera. Wow, what a good mimer. Parshat Vayera, Torah, you start learning every year. Everyone's like, yeah, the Rebbe said you have to learn Chassidus Parsha every week. So we're going to start off Torah, we're going to do it every week. And usually, I don't know, Bereshis is a pretty big one, but maybe you skip Bereshis and start doing from Noach, the famous mimer, Rabbi mimer. Anyways, if you make it to Vayera, Vayera is like a heavy hitter, comes out of nowhere with two deep haskalah scientific maimarim. And the first one is all about the spheres and all about how Atzmus is revealed, and it's a very, very Kabbalistic approach. A lot of Chassidus concepts in there. Very important stuff. The next one of Erdana is a philosophical maimer in a way. Now, obviously, it's not in the way of philosophy because there's different styles of teaching Torah, different approaches. So Chassidus, the style is Chassidus, but it answers, and the Alter Rebbe directly addresses philosophers. He says, and the philosophers, their mistake is, so he starts speaking about this issue over there, and he ends up saying that they're both true at the same time, and it just depends on your perspective. Because Hashem knows everything that's going to happen. Everything that did happen, because Hashem's above time. Hashem's experiencing everything that has, will, or is happening at the same time. Because Hashem's above existence. But then Hashem decided, I want you to have an existence with constraints of time and space, with free choice. So Hashem puts himself on the side, so to speak, by concealing himself. And you're going to have to get another conversation about how concealing and revelation are really just two different.
Yeah, we're for sure having a part two, if that's what you're worried about. We're for sure having a part two, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what we'll get into that later. It's like a turtle. That's the marshal. It's debatable whether it means a turtle or a snail, but the turtle and the snail, they hide in their shell, but the shell grows with them. It's part of their anatomy. If you ever look at a skeleton of a turtle, I once looked it up, a skeleton of the turtle, because I was learning this part of Tanya, and a skeleton includes a shell. So it's hiding inside itself. That's what Hashem's doing. He's hiding inside himself, and he made a space where you really do have free choice, and you really can decide for yourself, and he's really putting himself inside. So it's just all about perspective. If you're looking at a perspective above the world, then Hashem's seeing and experiencing everything at the same time. If you're looking within the world, then according to the Torah of truth, the real deal is that Hashem's giving you free choice. So the way the Rebbe explains this, I saw in a very interesting letter, English letter. So the Rebbe's writing, by the way, because this is a different conversation, but the Rebbe has probably as many English letters as Hebrew ones. That set of Igros Kodesh costs you like $1,000 to buy? No, you ever bought a set of Igros Kodesh?
I went through it, but I guess I only went through the Krachim that are just the Hebrew, the Yiddish, I guess.
Yeah, I remember I went to a store in Australia. I'm like, how much does it cost for a set of Igros Kodesh? It's like $1,000. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
And they're still putting them out every year. But think about it, the Rebbe lived in America and interacted with all these English speakers. You ever thought about that?
True.
The Rebbe has thousands and thousands and thousands of English original letters that the Rebbe checked over in English. The Rebbe actually writes to a woman. It's printed in, if you look at letters from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, printed by OLS, volume 4 over there. The Rebbe writes, in reply to your question, do I write my letters myself? I dictate them to my secretary. That would be Nissim Mendel. And then I personally edit them and check them over. So all these letters are edited and checked over by the Rebbe in English. It's just very unfortunate that they're not so well available until about 3 years ago, when a couple of incredible people. You heard about this?
No, I didn't. No.
Incredible guys got together and made an app called Rebbe Responsa, and they've collected already probably 10,000 English letters of the Rebbe. They get the originals, they advertise, they hunt people down, they go to everyone, hey, do you have a letter? Do you know someone who has a letter? And they scan them in, and they're available on the App Store online, free of charge, and you can go over there. Anyone who speaks English now can learn one of the biggest parts of the Rebbe's Torah that's in original English. If you're an Israeli, you have to get a translation. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, that is
So
Amazing. Because
it's so
sometimes I
cool.
do feel like some Bachrim and some people that are trying to learn and get into the idea of sitting down and learning Chassidus sometimes get thrown off because not that uh Hebrew is hard for the Yiddish learners, which it could be very well, but it's just that it sometimes does feel like it's in at a level that you have to put something more into, and it's so amazing to see how much it's full, free, and unlimited, easy, smooth access to these things that the Rebbe worked for it. It is really I just love it. I just love it. There's no words to describe it.
Yeah, you can also look up my topic if you're like wondering, hey, what did they ever say about elections? Well, you can look it up there. Type in elections, look everything. What did they ever say about security in Israel? Type it in, it'll come up. Hey, how about health? It's such an incredible tool. Everyone should download it and read through all of them, every single one of them. Just go binge. Just call into work. Hey, I'm sick, and just start reading. Anyways, but let's get back to our point before where we were talking about free choice. Let's just wrap that up because the Rebbe says in one of these English letters, and the reason I'm pointing out that it's English is because maybe the Rebbe is going to have to speak in more basic, more human terms to someone who's not so involved in rabbinic literature like you would with the Hebrew. That the Rebbe says over there, imagine you're walking down the path and there's two paths you could take. You know, you can go down
Right.
Schenectady or you can go down Troy Avenue. And there's someone standing by the side, and the guy standing by the side knows what you're going to do, but doesn't say anything to you. Does that guy's knowledge take away your choice? No, you could just know which one. That guy is such a smart guy, you figured out what you're going to do. But he didn't take away your choice. So the Rebbe's point over here is that there's two things happening simultaneously. There's within the world, you deciding, choosing, and then there's above and beyond, and not affecting you is the guy standing by the side, meaning Hashem. Above and beyond the worlds, being, I know what you're going to do, and I'm going to give you the space to decide still. Okay, it's a very deep topic. I think a lot of people are going to kind of have a bit of
Yeah.
the, you know what they say, the brain twisted into a pretzel. You can still do those voices as you.
Oh yeah, all the time. Now all the time.
Just checking.
That's
Just
but
checking. That was good stuff.
yeah,
Good
yeah.
potty trick.
But Baruch Hashem, I'm exploring different avenues of my talents. So there's the podcast thing, there's my music side of it. I'm singing, but also talking about music. I'm doing some few projects for Americas and Sea Kids. So it is amazing to see. And
And you helping all the kids in school over there?
yeah, yeah. So I'm a shliach in LEC. So I'm one of those shluchim, Bachram shluchim, and it's one thing to be on the other side of receiving these things, and it is another thing to give back and be part of it in a way. And it's very deep to think about that. And I think that you're doing this beautifully with your platform, and I really wish you hatzlacha with what you're doing.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. You wanted to
Yeah.
pivot before, and I cut you off and went off on a whole tangent.
No, but I was about to say that we just ran out of time. It's uh what's it called? It's almost I have to interview someone else for the podcast that I have up. So,
Right
but
when I think that's a lighting.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But I do think this is a great end because then we could do part two on topics. So like this was mainly on the landscape of Chassidus that we have in our days, and also our Bechira Chavshis and how do we integrate that into what we're doing with that. So I love that we kind of bookend to here, but we will have a part two for sure. We're gonna have a part
Uziel,
two
this
very
is such
soon
a great
with a different
conversation.
topic. Yeah.
I really appreciate the
So,
conversation. Really looking forward to talking again.
yeah. So we'll have you back.
Absolutely. When you get to the end of your list of guys that you need to interview, then like put my name under that.
No, you're
Hopefully by
not
the
that
next time
low.
I speak to you, I'll be on Flipper already.
Yeah, you're not that low. Please, don't think of yourself like that. But okay, fine. Thank you so much, Rabbi Lieber. You can check
Can't
him
wait.
out on Instagram. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can check him on Instagram and on YouTube, Chassidus Alive. And you have also a website, Jewish Coach, something like that. Say that.
YourJewishCoach.com. YourJewishCoach.com.
YourJewishCoach.com.
On Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, X, Spotify. What else do I have? Help me out over here. TikTok.
Yeah,
You name
TikTok.
whatever your shit is, we've got you figured out.
All right, perfect. Hatzlacha on everything you do.
I'll see it.
Tell me if you need any help with anything of your platform, and also in general, Hatzlacha, and we'll have a part two for this for sure.
I can't wait. I'll see you then.
All right, Hatzlacha. This was a great conversation. I just hope it was much longer, but it was a bitter-sweet episode diving into Chassidus and also meeting another content creator on YouTube, also brand new, just like me, but doing much more holy work than I can, I must say. But it was a great conversation. Also, I kind of related to what he was talking about. It wasn't too complicated for me to understand the deep lessons he was going into in Chassidus, and it was a perfect conversation, and I can't wait for part 2. So check out Chassidus Alive on Instagram, on YouTube, and so many platforms, also with Spotify, and also check out his website, yourjewishcoach.com. It's amazing daily content. It's very simple and sweet stories and lessons all the way through. I love it. All right, please like and subscribe, and please stay tuned to every Thursday for another episode. We have a lot of episodes lined up, especially when we're coming to the Sphere season. So please stay tuned, and you're going to love some of the guests that we already have confirmed. See you then.